Hello, and welcome to the We Need Water podcast. My name is James Amspacher, and I'm the Water Efficiency Manager for Cascade Water Alliance in King County, Washington. Cascade is a municipal water supplier providing drinking water to more than 380,000 residents. If you've listened to this podcast before, you might have been expecting Mike Brent to host this episode. Well, don't worry, you'll still get to hear from Mike today, but he's retiring and I'm his successor. Before he retires, though, I couldn't let Mike go without interviewing him and sharing some of his vast knowledge with all of you. Welcome, Mike, and thank you for joining me.
Hi, James. Great to be here.
So, Mike, I understand that you were one of the original employees at Cascade Water Alliance when it was formed in 1999. How many employees were at Cascade at that time?
Well, I don't go back all the way to the very beginning. In 1999, as you say, the organization was formed, and for about 5 years, there was just a general manager and an administrative assistant. So just two people for quite a while. And then early in 2004, about the same time, I was hired along with an engineer. So they doubled their staffing from two to four. And then from then on, the organization slowly grew to where it is today.
Fantastic. And what was the atmosphere like being one of only four employees in a brand new organization?
It was a lot of fun. It was a unique experience and a different experience. And it was very exciting because we were, uh, part of creating a new water supply for King County for several of the cities and water districts. So we knew we were doing something that was really interesting and would have long lasting effects. So it was a lot of fun being there.
That's great. Yeah, it must have been really exciting, but also daunting at the same time to be starting with a clean slate and developing a water conservation program from the ground up. How did you approach such a huge task, and what were your priorities in doing so?
Well, the first thing I did was to contact all of our member agencies and to introduce myself and to tell them why I was there at Cascade and that I wanted to work with them to try to create something that was really innovative and fun and that would do some good. So I tried to initially build those relationships with our member agencies. And I had had a number of years of experience working in water conservation programs already. So uh, I set about trying to create a broad suite of programs that would do the most good for the largest numbers of our customer base. So commercial accounts, residential accounts, multifamily accounts, indoor and outdoor water conservation. As much as I could, I tried to cover all of those bases.
Great. And how long were you doing water conservation before you started at Cascade?
About 8 years.
Okay, fantastic. And how do you feel like water conservation has changed since you started in that arena?
Right. Well, the main difference, well, there are a number of differences really, but I think the main one is for a long time, we were sort of blessed and cursed with having lots of fixtures, pretty much anything that used water in the home, used more than it really needed to. So clothes washers, toilets, showers, uh, faucets, anything like that. Around that time period in the early 2000s, the industry, plumbing industry and clothes washer industry, we're all coming around and we're starting to make newer, more efficient fixtures. And that has only increased over time. And so it's a very different sort of landscape now because of that. So the biggest change is that we're kind of well past and we're done with the days of the high volume fixtures. Old toilets that use 5 or 6 gallons per flush, or a clothes washer that used 50 gallons per load, and things like that. That's all gone now. And so that's probably the main difference. But there's also been a lot of behavioral and change differences, changes in just the general attitude toward water and water conservation. I think people value the resource more than they did in the past. And so those things have kind of come together and have really changed the landscape for water conservation.
That makes sense. So you're talking about manufacturers um, coming out with more water efficient products. What do you think led to some of those changes?
Well, it was driven by water scarcity, really. Um, the large areas throughout the American West have been experiencing problems with water supply and water scarcity and droughts and so forth for a very long time now. And it became obvious by that time, by around the early 2000s, that things had to change. Actually, even before then, back to the 1990s, it was obvious that things would have to change. We don't have enough water, particularly in the American West, to support the size of population that we have and is projected to happen in the future if we're still using water the way we did for many decades. So it was really drought and water scarcity as the main driver for the change.
That makes a lot of sense. So, what accomplishment are you most proud of during your time at Cascade?
Well, kind of along those same lines, I think. I guess I'm most proud that Cascade played a role. We certainly were not the only entity involved, but we did play an important role, I think, in the Washington legislature changing the plumbing codes a few years ago, I think about 3 years ago, to mandate uh, the use of high efficiency water fixtures. Um, our plumbing codes are now aligned with the federal water sense plumbing code standards. And that will have long lasting impacts for forever, basically, for many decades. And that's why we're one of the main reasons why we're able to use the water supplies that we have. And even though our population is growing, and still have plenty of water for people. So being part of that effort was very important and significant.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks for all the work that you did in that area. That's great. And what is the number one thing you want everyone in the region to understand?
Well, that we have a finite supply of water. I know, I know it's a little difficult for people to understand. In Western Washington, it seems like a rainy place. It seems like we shouldn't have to worry about water, but we are constrained both by the size of the storage reservoirs and the ability of what water suppliers can provide. Um, and there are regulatory requirements on what water suppliers are allowed to to provide. So it's a finite resource, and we just need to think of it that way and manage it accordingly.
Great. And what have you enjoyed most about your job?
I think my job has brought me into contact with so many other entities and agencies and other cities and things like that. and to align Cascade's efforts with what a lot of others are doing, to keep water as part of the whole sphere of sustainability. That's been really nice. I have enjoyed that the most, I think.
Great. Well, thank you, Mike, not just for joining me today, but also for starting this podcast and all of the other water conservation measures at Cascade. You've done amazing work over the years, and your presence will be missed by all of us. So thank you.
Thank you very much, James, and best wishes to you.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that. And thank all of you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this broadcast. If you did, please like and subscribe and follow us on social media at We Need H2O. You can also find helpful information about Cascade's water conservation programs at cascadewater.org. Have a great day, and remember, we need water.